Today we're playing cycles from my favorite Pauper combo deck. It's the deck with Songs of the Damned and Reaping the Graves. Let's go check it out. Let's start off by thanking Leon Gross-Stoltenberg for today's donation deck. Leon is one of the best Cycle Storm pilots out there, and Leon wanted to see stock Cycle Storm, nothing cute, just what I would recommend for a tournament, so that's what we're playing today. So there's really no update, and there hasn't been any updates to this list in 6+ months, so I haven't really felt the need to play it, but this is what I would play if I was trying to do really well with Cycle Storm in the current format. If you're interested, we do have a sideboard guide over at theepicstorm.com/shop if you want to know how to board and all of my plans and all that good stuff. But I might be a little bit rusty. I haven't recorded a video with this deck list or even played this deck list since my last video that you can find on the card above. So we'll see how I do today. Like, it's been a while since I've played the deck list and I'm a little nervous. Let's see if I still have what it takes, and I will see you in match number 1. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. You can also show your support by becoming a member of this channel. You get sweet perks such as badges, emotes, early access to videos, exclusive members-only content, and access to our members Discord section. As you increase the tiers, there are other rewards such as shop discounts, sideboard guides, and even free donation decks. Click the join button down below to find out more. We also have other ways you can support us, like theepicstorm.com/shop or submitting a donation deck via theepicstorm.com/donation decks. That's enough for now. Let's play some Magic. Match number 1 with Pauper Cycle Storm, and we are on the play. Let's go. Yeah, this is a wonderful hand. We have lands and cyclers. We'll play Vault of Whispers past the turn, Mountain, Looting, so probably Dredge. Or I guess it could be Madness Burn. Discards 2 more copies of Looting. We'll cycle an Imposing Vantasaur. Play the Great Furnace and we'll pass. Swamp. Vampire's Kiss. So this is most likely Rakdos Burn. We'll cycle another Imposing Vantasaur. They usually play like one Bazooka Bog in the main. We'll cycle a Barrenmoor. Rowan's Grim Search. Pass. So I think next turn might be a turn where we try to win. On the end step here, I would like to cycle the Monstrous Carabid and the Stinger. And then that puts 5 cards to the graveyard. You cycle Street Wraith, which is 6. The Lotus Petal would be 7, giving you double Cabal Ritual Threshold. And then you want to Rowan's Grim Search into a Reaping the Graves, and then you're good to go. They swing. Alright, so we'll cycle the Monstrous Carabid. Land. Now we'll cycle the Stinger. Ooh, that was not particularly good. I think I might just wait. Like, end step Rowan's and then see where we're at. Triple land was not really what we wanted. They play Jagged Barrens. They swing, we go to 13. Another Vampire's Kiss, we're at 11. Alright, end step we will Rowan's Grim Search. Bargain away Vault of Whispers. It's worth noting they do not have Double Mountain, but these deck lists typically do not play Fire Blast anyway. We'll get rid of all 4. Into double Reaping the Graves, love to see that. We'll cycle Street Wraith, play a Great Furnace, and now we'll Cabal Ritual, cycle Horror of the Broken Lands, another Rowan's. Let's play Rowan's here. Sacrifice Vault of Whispers to the bargain. I will take Double Dark Ritual. I think we just need the mana. I really want a Songs of the Damned, but the Dark Rituals can help bridge the gap to get there. And now we'll cast another copy of Rowan's Grim Search, bargaining away the Great Furnace. I could take this Rowan's Grim Search, and that will put me down to 1, and I think that's okay. So we'll take this Rowan's Grim Search, and now we'll tap the Great Furnace. This is over half of our deck and no copies of Songs of the Damned. Sacrifice the Great Furnace. There we go. Take the Lotus Petal. And now I'll be at 1. Play the Lotus Petal. Cycle the Drannith Stinger. Play Songs of the Damned. Cabal Ritual. Cycle the Barrenmoor. We'll play Lotus Petal. Cycle the Healer. I could play it, but honestly I just don't need to. Now we'll Reaping the Graves. So this is just me being really lazy. That is why I did not play the Healer. In paper, there's almost no reason not to. But when you're playing on Magic Online, there are a bunch of triggers when you have Drannith Healer and Drannith Stinger in play. And I just don't want to have to click on them while I'm winning. So, like I said, pure laziness. No real justification. Just me not wanting to click on a bunch of different triggers. Okay. And now we'll play the Drannith Stinger. Alright, and now we'll play another Drannith Stinger. and a third copy of Drannith Stinger. Cycle the Horror of the Broken Lands will auto-yield. Auto-yield to the draw on this as well. So now each cycle deals 3 damage. Okay, and now we're just in the middle of winning. And I guess one thing that I'll answer now, because it happens in every single Cycle Storm video. Why do you typically cycle with Reaping the Grave still on the stack? Fair question, especially if you've never watched any of my Cycle Storm videos, and I would recommend watching them. But it is that if you cycle with more copies of Reaping the Graves on the stack, you leave the most number of creatures in the graveyard. This is important as your Songs of the Damned strategy, because you don't want to return all of your creatures and then start cycling, and then have an empty graveyard. Because this way you make less mana. So in order to maximize our mana production, you keep the most number of creatures in your graveyard as possible. And that is the idea behind it. So we are going to take game number 1 from Rakdos Burn. Turn 5. Sort of a slow game for both decks. I'm going to just run it back. I don't think there's a reason to sideboard. A lot of these decks have like 2 copies of Nile Spellbomb in the sideboard. I have found that you're better off just beating Nile Spellbomb the old-fashioned way with like double Reaping the Graves than bringing Siege Smash and having it be a dead card if they don't have it. So that's my personal recommendation here. If you want to bring it in on your own, you do whatever makes you happy, really. But I have had better success pretending it doesn't exist. So that is what I'm going to do here. And if you are looking for my sideboard guide, you can go find it at theepicstorm.com/shop. We will keep... I would like more creatures, but this hand is fast, which I like. They play a Jagged Baron, so slow start, good for me. We'll play Great Furnace and pass. I want to keep open the possibility of cycling this Baron more if I draw into a Vault of Whispers, because we're low on cycling effects right now. Highway Robbery, sure. So this is probably going to discard Sneaky Snacker and then return it. And it does. Cycle the Drannith Stinger on the end step. Another copy of Reaping the Graves. I will cycle the Street Wraith here. Once again, I'm leaving open the possibility of cycling the Baron more. I'll just play the Lotus Petal and pass. They swing. Ouch. Jukabog. That's annoying. So do I want to burn a Dark Ritual and a Reaping the Graves here? I think the answer is yes. We'll play the Dark Ritual. Most lists only have 1 Bog, so I don't know if I'll play around a second after this. And now we'll return both creatures. Into Nile Spellbomb. Wow. What a draw. We're in trouble. That is not good for me. Oh my. We'll play the Baron more. Pass. I think we probably could have beaten one but not both this game. But I will see if I can pull a rabbit out of a hat. They discard a Sneaky Snacker on a mountain. The attack here will put me down to 13. Another Jagged Barons. I'm at 12. End step will cycle the monster as Carabid. Another Reaping the Grave. So that does help me beat double Spellbomb if I can manage to fill up my graveyard. We'll play Lotus Petal and pass. I might be trying to force to win on my next turn, assuming I even get another turn. They have 3 cards, so if they end step Lightning Bolt me here, I go to 9, the attack puts me to 7. They'll have 3 cards in their hand. Can they deal 7 damage with 3 cards? Vampire's Kiss puts me to 7, the attack puts me to 5. They have a land, 1 card. 1 card doesn't kill me, but if that card is Galvanic Blast, it puts me to 1. So I probably can't cycle the Street Wraith. It's a Highway Robbery. They're going to sacrifice a land. They get rid of a mountain. This returns Sneaky Snacker, and they still have a mana open to burn me with. So I probably can't use the Street Wraith. Like I said, I'm dead to Galvanic Blast or a Lightning Bolt. Cycle the Horror of the Broken Lands. That would have been a good spot for them to try to use the Nile Spellbomb. We'll play Dark Ritual. Cycle Baron more. Trying to get up the threshold for Cabal Ritual. Now I'll make white mana, and I will attempt a Cabal Ritual. I think I need to use the red mana here. Will they, in response, Nile Spellbomb? They don't. Alright, so I will now play a Cabal Ritual. Well, unfortunately, my Cabal Ritual never resolved. The opponent disconnected and then never returned, so I don't know what to say, but we've won match number 1. Packs.com is the new way to open your favorite cards. It's a site where you open digital packs of trading cards like Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, and One Piece cards, and have the cards you open mailed quickly and securely to you. With a wide range of packs to choose from, such as the latest Magic sets, Kaladesh Inventions, or even Beta. I'm going to open a Beta pack. What's great about Packs.com is you can see all of the cards and their odds of being opened in each pack. Now it's time to open one and see what I get. Come on, Black Lotus! If you don't like what you opened, you could sell it back instantly for more packs, or sell it and pick a specific card from the marketplace over at packs.com/market. If you want to check out packs.com, make sure to click the link in the description of this video and use code STORM5 when making a purchase for 5% extra on your first purchase. We're back for match number 2, and once again on the play. Let's go. Sure. We will keep, play Great Furnace, and pass the turn. An island, okay. So we're facing a blue deck this time. The Rakdos burn deck in match number 1, and now a blue deck, so we're getting a good variety here today. Cycle the Monstrous Carabid. Rowan's Grim Search. I mean, if we get a window to cast it, it's not bad. We'll cycle a Drannith Stinger looking for that second land drop. We missed, and now we'll cycle Street Wraith. Okay, unfortunately we are passing. Our opponent on the end step cycles a Lorien Revealed, and now they play a Brainstorm. Usually you want to use those two cards in the opposite order, but whatever works for them. And now a Ponder. Are you going to use Ponder as a shuffle effect here? They did not shuffle. We'll take a draw. Cabal Ritual. So a tough decision here. So I could go Lotus Petal Dark Ritual, cycle a Horror of the Broken Land, cycle another creature, Cabal Ritual, and then Rowan's Grim Search, but it's a lot of needing to hit, which I don't love. So I think I'm going to be a coward here and just cycle the 1. Yeah, I'm going to pass. I think it's just reckless to go for it here. They play Ponder. They shuffled that time. And now another copy of Ponder. If they pass without making a land drop, I would probably try to shove. But let's see what they do. They have their land. Okay. So going off into a Spell Pierce or Dispel is not wise. We'll play the Vault of Whispers and just pass. Ooh, you're on Izzet. They cycle another Lorien Revealed. Tolarian Terror holding open counterspell mana. Another Tolarian Terror. Okay. So Dispel or Spell Pierce are what we need to be concerned with. We'll cycle a Horror of the Broken Lands on the end step. Cycle another copy of Monstrous Carabid. And that gets us pretty close to Threshold. Another Cabal Ritual. Okay. Dark Ritual. Well, that looks like an F6. I now have Threshold. We'll play Cabal Ritual. Cycle Horror of the Broken Lands. Songs of the Damned. We'll cycle Drannith Healer. Another Cabal Ritual. The second Rowan's Grim Search draw was very good because I am unlikely to fizzle at this point. Cabal Ritual. And now we'll cycle an Imposing Vantasaur. Cast Dark Ritual. And now Rowan's Grim Search with the bargain. Sacrifice Great Furnace. We'll take Reaping the Graves, getting rid of everything else. Another copy of Rowan's Grim Search. Bargain away the Vault of Whispers. Take the Cabal Ritual. Another Songs of the Damned. So you could even beat Dispel at this point. Cycle Street Wraith. We'll play Songs of the Damned. I could cycle the Stinger, but I'm just going to be lazy and use the Stinger for Storm. We'll cast it. Storm 11. Reaping the Graves. Return all of our homies from the graveyard. Okay, so we've wrapped up game number 1. I just need to finish executing the combo. I know that some of you don't like to just like sit here and listen to me say cycle a million times as I ping the opponent for lethal, but I genuinely enjoy playing this deck and I love it. So yeah, and I get that it can be a little tedious to some of you, but Cycle Storm is so interesting on like a fundamental level to me, just because there's so many micro decisions that end up mattering, where you don't get that with like other formats nearly as much. And this isn't a diss on Modern Ruby Storm, but I think Modern Ruby Storm is incredibly easy and straightforward to play. And it's not that the deck is just like brain dead, it's just, it's obvious, where Cycle Storm isn't always obvious. Like the mechanics of Modern Ruby Storm are fairly straightforward. It's like, do you have Reducer? Can you do this? Can you get to 7 spells for Rail? That sort of thing. It's not this complex puzzle, where Cycle Storm, I think, is a lot more interesting because you're continuously, you know, doing the odds on drawing a Songs of the Damned or Reaping the Graves, or how many Lotus Petals do you have left, and all these calculations that end up mattering a lot more. We'll bring in Pyroblast and the Chitin Gravestalkers, board out 2 copies of Rowan's Grim Search, get rid of 2 copies of Cabal Ritual, and then 3 copies of Imposing Vantasaur, as the Cyborg Guide says. Once again, if you're interested, there is a Cyborg Guide over at theepicstorm.com/shop. We will keep. They have an island. I would really like another land with this hand, but we'll see what we get. Preordained. Lotus Petal. I think we'll play that out. Sometimes in my experience, I've noticed that people are psychopaths and they board in a null against me because they don't have anything else. So I'm going to play it out here because I need the mana. They cycle a Lorien Revealed for a Volatile Forward. Sure. I think I'm going to Dark Ritual and cycle here because it leaves the possibility of slamming the Chitin Gravestalker, depending on what I draw into. And it looks like we're not going to hit that second land anytime soon. Cycle the Carabid. Yeah, brutal. Pass the turn. So we have 3 creatures in the graveyard for the Chitin Gravestalker. Lotus Petal could have been the 4th resource because Chitin Gravestalker is artifact and or creature. But we were still 1 mana short. So I could have tried to cycle into a land, but I don't know if I want to burn the resource on a risk like that. They resolve their Brainstorm. They have a Perilous Landscape. Sure. Another Lotus Petal. We'll cycle a Drannith Healer. Pass the turn. Oh, I shouldn't have hit F6. They played Cast into the Fire and I could have cycled. That's a punish. I feel bad about that. I got sloppy and I was punished. Lesson learned. And now they cycle a Lorien Revealed. Another Island, 5 cards in hand. We will cycle another copy of Drannith Healer. Play out the Lotus Petal. See? Psychopaths that bring in a null. Pass the turn. Sure. That's a Tolarian Terror. They have 4 cards remaining in their hand. We draw land number 2. Let's cycle a Drannith Stinger. We find Cabal Ritual. I think I'm going to just play a Chitin Gravestalker here, and if it eats a counterspell, I think that's a good thing. Because I can always Reaping the Graves it right back. And they do use a counterspell. We will pass. And step they Brainstorm. Now they swing. We'll go to 15. 4 cards still in their hand. They play a land into a second terror. 2 cards now. 1 card, so they're tapped out. I have a window. The question is, can we do anything with the window? Cabal Ritual with Threshold. Let's cycle Horror of the Broken Lands. Songs was incredible. Okay. Cycle the Horror of the Broken Lands. Play the Lotus Petal. Cycle the Stinger. We can play the land. Cycle the other Drannith Stinger. Cycle Street Wraith. Dark Ritual. Cast the Songs of the Damned. Reaping the Graves. So I could go... It's going to be for 5. I could do Horror of the Broken Lands, Gravestalker, Gravestalker. I could do triple horror, actually, but I can't play them all. So I could do horror, Gravestalker, Street Wraith, plus like another creature. But they have Scred available, so maybe that's just dumb. I think I'm going to just try to win. Let's go. Street Wraith, horror, Stinger. So I'll cycle down to 11. Cycle the Carabid. We'll cycle Horror of the Broken Lands. Land. Cycle. I would like another Reaping the Graves. Cycle down to 9. Cycle the Drannith Healer. Monstrous Carabid. So we've seen half of our deck at this point. We should see another Reaping the Graves and Songs of the Damned soon. Another Pyroblast. So now we're down to just 1 cycle plus the Barrenmoor. That was not a very good draw 5. Cycle the Horror. Brutal. Cycle Barrenmoor. Yeah. I mean, I could have played... We ended up losing. I could have played the creatures. I mean, it was something that I was weighing. But they could have protected the Monarch for a couple turns. And I would have been blown out by Scred. And I wasn't in love with that idea. But maybe it would have been better in hindsight. I'm going to just run it back. Sure. I mean, not the world's most incredible hand, but I think it's fine enough. Vault of Whispers pass. The opponent did take a mulligan. They play a Volatile Forward. We will cycle the Horror of the Broken Lands. Cycle again looking for that second land drop. Pass the turn. We did see that they sided in Cast into the Fire, so they could destroy my land here, which would be bad for me. And there it is. Yep. Play the Lotus Petal, and we'll just pass. They play land and pass the turn. I'll play another Lotus Petal. They're going to counterspell it. That is a choice. Pass the turn. They fetch with the Perilous Landscape. And now a Brainstorm. They cycle the Lorien Revealed. Snow-Covered Island. Horror of the Broken Lands. I will just go to cleanup here. We'll discard the Rowan's Grim Search. I did consider discarding a creature in case they try to destroy my petal and then I try to force a win. But I don't know if I'd try to force a win off double Songs of the Damned. It doesn't feel like enough to me, so I chose not to do that. Our opponent taps 3 lands for a Tolarian Terror. 4 cards still in their hand. So now the pressure's on. You might be thinking, why not Pyroblast that? I just don't think that's a wise idea. Like, that's not a winning game plan. That's you playing afraid. So I'm going to look for my window and try to capitalize, but that is not what I would do. And we missed on the land again. Devastating. I'm going to just discard a creature here. They attack for 5. I will go to 15. They have land number 5. And now the Monarch creature. Wow. So we had 1 land in the top quarter of our library. I mean, I'm dead to like literally a light breeze here, but I'll play Songs of the Damned. They Spell Pierce. Pass the turn. We'll take 8. I'm at 7. And now they play a Ponder. I guess this whole match came down to that decision in game 2. Brutal. Feel a little betrayed by our deck here, but it happens. It's part of the variance of playing a format without tutors. So we are now 1-1, but there's still 3 matches left to go. Moxfield.com is the easiest way to build a Magic deck online. They support over 30 formats, including Legacy and many other Eternal formats. There are so many options to view decks the way that you want, from text view to individual cards, mana value, and even card price. There's also light mode and dark mode. My personal favorite feature is card tags. This way you can sort cards by function. Moxfield supports collection tracking, Scryfall search, decklist feedback, and so much more. Follow me on Moxfield.com so you can stay updated on all of my decks. Let's bounce back in match number 3, and we are on the play again. So good on die rolls, less good on, winning the games. This hand is not a hand that wins the game. We will mulligan. This one is okay. A little disappointed by that last round because I don't feel like there was a lot that was within my control. I could have played the creatures and tried to turn the game into a slugfest where we would have ended up trading my creatures with terrors and then maybe getting 1 creature through and hoping to take over the Monarch, but it didn't feel like a realistic plan, especially when our opponent had Scred mana available. So, I don't know. Like, was I expecting to draw into nothing but lands and then the next game get mana screwed? Like, I don't know. Looks like we're facing Affinity. This deck does have main deck now spell bombs. I'll cycle a Horror of the Broken Lands, see if we can hit land number 2. No is the answer. We will pass. I mean, not a bad hand right now, though. I will say that. This is a reasonable spot to be in. I would like the second land. Hopefully we avoid that card. They always have it. Every game. Alright, so... Bummer. Cycle the Monstrous Carabid. Pass the turn. Refurbished Familiar. Get rid of the Lotus Petal. They play Seat of the Synod. And a Mirror Enforcer, sure. Let's cycle Street Wraith to see if we can hit land number 2. No is the answer. Think I'll pass. They play a Thoughtcast into another copy of Thoughtcast. They swing, we'll go to 12. I might be pressured to try to win because if they end step Galvanic Blast me, untap, and then have any reach, we're dead. Okay, well now I definitely need to try to win. Yep. End step will cycle the Drannith Healer. 5 cards in the graveyard. I need the Dark Ritual to resolve on my turn without getting hit by the Spell Bomb. Okay, well that was my window. So now we could try a Cabal Ritual here. I would really love it if they bid on the Now Spell Bomb. That would be how we win this game. Come on, take the bait. Do it. No! Alright, so we'll cycle the Healer. Cycle the Stinger. I'm going to try to get them to bite on a Songs of the Damned. That's the game plan. Ooh! Okay, now it doesn't matter what they do. We'll try Songs, see if they chomp down on this. Finally, some good variants? For me? What? I can't believe it. Okay, and they let it go. We'll play Cabal Ritual. Our opponent showing a lot of discipline. I will say that. It means that they've played the matchup before. Reaping the Graves. Floating 20 mana. They should let the copy resolve, because if they Spellbomb now, I can use these Storm triggers later. And they do. So, we'll make our targets. And now is when they should use the Now Spellbomb. And now we'll have to Reaping the Graves again. Return all of our things. You should target Street Wraith first. It just doesn't matter in this spot, so I'm not going to do it. Alright, so now the Now Spellbomb will resolve. We've used 3 copies of Cabal Ritual already, so the threshold aspect only matters for 1 more. And we need to win the game off these 8 cycles we have available. We've used 2 Songs of the Damned and 2 Reaping the Graves. Well, there's another Songs of the Damned. That's good. Just keep cycling. Okay. Opposing Vantasaur is the draw. We're just filling up our graveyard again. Should I play out a Furnace here? Do I think the damage matters is the question. Well, it's free to play out the Furnace, but it gives me 5 draws. I think I'm going to continue to hold. Like, I don't think I'm going to lose this game by 1 or 2 damage, where I could lose the game by not finding the next combo piece. Cycle a Vantasaur. Get rid of the Monstrous Carabid. Another Song. So mana's not a choke point, which means that cycling these Stingers instead of playing them out likely doesn't matter. It's mostly just us finding Reaping the Graves, and now I can afford to play one out. Alright, so we ended up... I would have been fine either way, but it just leaves yourself the wiggle room of not losing the game if you needed to cycle that creature. Like, I think sometimes I'll receive comments and people are like, why didn't you play it out sooner? It's like, well, what if I needed to cycle that creature but couldn't because I played it and then end up losing the game? Why put yourself in those situations? I'd rather just not do that when I can just wait a little bit while longer and then play it later. The odds that you lose off 1 to 2 damage are so small. We'll play the final copy of Cabal Ritual. Songs of the Damned. Songs of the Damned. Reaping the Graves. So we had 3 Reaping the Graves and all 4 copies of Song in roughly the top 50% of our deck. That's pretty lucky. Oddly enough, no copies of Rowan's Grim Search, though. If you're interested, Kelly Kai's recently uploaded a video where he went 5-0 with a take on Cycle Storm. It's mostly, the list is pretty similar to one of my older builds of the deck. It has the Repository Scob and Blood Celebrant and stuff in there, and Kelly Kai's prefers it. No hate, like Kelly Kai's can play whatever he prefers, like it's not a big deal. But I think at this point I wouldn't play those cards even if I was to do something to try to fix consistency issues. If I was to add anything to the deck in order to make the deck better, I would be trying to look at like mystical teachings, so that way finding Reaping the Graves and Songs of the Damned more accurately is a thing we're interested in. The thing is, in order to play something like Mystical Teachings, you have to rework the mana. And I don't want to do that. Like, I really don't want to play a bad card like Blood Celebrant, and Mystical Teachings or Repository Scob force you to do so. A card I would love to see downshifted would be Razaket's Right, I believe it's called. It's a 5-mana tutor for 3 black, and it cycles for 1 black. I think that would be a really sweet card to see in like a master set to be downshifted. Like a 5-mana tutor, I think, is within the power level of Pauper, and it having cycling would be a great tool for this deck. So, you know, write your local Gavin Verhey that you want to see that card downshifted. Okay, so we won game number 1. We'll bring in Siege Smash, pour out a Cabal Ritual, and a Cycler. But Razaket's Right. I should actually look up the card name, because I'm pretty sure that's it, but I could be wrong. Here it is. Razaket's Right. I did guess the name of the card correctly. But this is a card that I would love to see downshifted, specifically for Pauper Cycle Storm. I think that this is a card that I would be thrilled to play. It has cycling, so it fits the deck. If you don't want to spend 5 mana, you just, you get rid of it. It helps with your Stingers. It can help find Songs of the Damned or Reaping the Graves. Like, this would be a tremendous card. It's like my biggest want for Pauper. It's probably never going to be downshifted, but it would make my life if this card got downshifted. I think it's just the perfect card. Actually, already own 4 Japanese foil sign versions for that hypothetical rainy day. I don't know. I just think it'd be great. Game 2 on the draw, we will keep. They play a bridge. Another Street Wraith. I mean, this hand is very good. We don't have a Reaping the Graves or land number 2, but it is an explosive hand. I love opening up double Street Wraith. As always, the Nile Spellbomb. Womp womp. It looks like they kept a 1-lander on the back of the Nile Spellbomb. We'll cycle Monstrous Carabid. We could look at just slamming Horror of the Broken Lands and going to Beat Downtown. Siege Smash, okay. We'll cycle the Healer. No land. Cycle Street Wraith. No land. Cycle the Street Wraith. Oh my. Alright, we're going to discard. I did not want to put this many resources into Nile Spellbomb, but here we are. They play a Blood Fountain. Come on, give me the red source for the Siege Mash. Kidding me. I will Songs of the Damned. See if they bite. They don't. Cabal Ritual. Oh, I didn't have Threshold, Bryant, you idiot. Whoops. I was like, oh, I should be able to go songs into double horror, and then I forgot about Threshold. So now I can only get up to 9 mana if I messed up. Cycle Stinger. Yeah, I just punted. Because now if they Galvanic Blast my horror, it's my own fault. Play the Cabal Ritual. Cycle Stinger. Alright, so I'll play land into Horror of the Broken Lands. Having the land available means that I can keep my Horror of the Broken Lands alive against a Galvanic Blast. So that's the idea here. I could have had double horror in play, but instead I'm an idiot. And like even in my head, I was like, okay, I need to cycle for Cabal Ritual on the prior turn. Like during my opponent's turn, I thought that. And then once it got to my turn, my head just went blank. And I was like, oh, songs, Cabal Ritual, that stuff. I'll discard the Siege Smash. Reaping the Graves, not really useful here. We'll swing for 4. Before damage, we will cycle the Horror of the Broken Lands. Pump up our creature a little bit. They take 6. We'll play Great Furnace and pass. Another Refurbished Familiar. That's annoying. Discard Reaping the Graves. They do not attack. Interesting. We'll swing. They're going to double block. I will cycle a Horror of the Broken Lands and kill both your creatures. Play the Vault of Whispers and pass. They have the Galvanic Blast. No, it's a Cart Clan Shaman. Okay. So they could sacrifice their entire board to kill my Horror of the Broken Lands. Rowan's Grim Search, not a terrible draw. Swing. They block. I'd like to draw 2 cards. We will pass. So hitting another Cycler means that can force my Horror of the Broken Lands to live through a Galvanic Blast, which is really all I want in this spot. Imagine how much easier this game would have been if I just sequenced correctly. And then I would have had double Horror of the Broken Lands in play. Another upside to the build that I'm playing is I am playing 4 copies of Horror of the Broken Lands. The build that plays Repository Scob and Blood Celebrant and all that other stuff, it doesn't play 4, it plays 2. So you're not able to pivot into beatdown as easily against things like Nile Spellbomb. They choose to block. We will pass. They found land number 2. Another Rowan's Grim Search. We will swing. We'll cycle 1 time here. They're going to Galvanic Blast. I will respond with a Barrenmore. That's 8 damage coming in. Songs of the Damned, well, they're just going to Spellbomb in response to that. I don't think using that here is a good idea. So they're at 6. We'll just pass the turn. Nile Spellbomb number 2. Classic. Mirror Enforcer. They're at 6 life. Let's see if they... let's just make them use a Spellbomb here. Let's get it off the table. They let me have it. Wow. Alright, so let's cast Rowan's Grim Search. I'll go to 12. No bargain. Cycle a Stinger. I can't believe they didn't empty my graveyard in response to that Songs of the Damned. Now I'll play a second copy of Horror of the Broken Lands. And we'll swing. They have to block here. And we'll pass. They play Cart Clan Shaman. One of the few cards that could actually keep them alive here by sacrificing so many permanents that it kills my Horror of the Broken Lands. So, interesting game we're in. I will swing. They block. Before damage, I imagine they're going to get rid of some stuff. They sacrificed a Nile Spellbomb here to draw a card, which I'm okay with. They're only sacrificing 4, so unless they... Alright, so now they're going to draw another card off this Nile Spellbomb. We're going to win. So I can Dark Ritual in response. And now we'll cycle. They can get up to 7 damage, so I think we can... if worst comes to worst, I can Reaping the Graves back Street Rates. So I think no matter what, my horrors are going to live here. I could be wrong, but that is what I believe at this moment. Cycle Barrenmore. Cycle Healer. So those are 7 booties. And then if I don't draw a Cycler here, which I did, I could Reaping the Graves and get the Street Rates back, but I did draw a Cycler. And now I could actually pump them up even more here. So now I can Reaping the Graves, get back Street Wraith. Okay. And now I'll cycle Street Wraith. So even if they sacrifice their 2 remaining artifact lands, my creatures will live. This game could have been so much easier if I just knew how to count in the beginning of it, but oh well. And we win the match. So we are now 2-1 with 2 matches left to go. Looking to make playing your favorite combo deck much easier? Look no further than the Epic Storm Mini Combo Pack, which is available at theepicstorm.com/shop for $15.99. This token combo pack comes with 84 double-sided tokens featuring classic Storm and Mana tokens with new inclusions such as our modern Ruby Storm package, but that's not all. Our token pack covers a variety of formats from Pauper to CDH with new tokens. Stop on by theepicstorm.com/shop and make an easy decision to elevate your combo game. Round number 4. This might be the 4th die roll in a row. I'm not positive. I can't remember if I won match number 3 or not, but I think I did. Sure, land and cyclers we will keep. Vault of Whispers pass. They play a Sea Gate, so most likely the Caw Gates deck, with main deck Thraben Charms. We draw Cabal Ritual. We did not draw land number 2. I will cycle a Monstrous Carabid here. And we miss. I will pass the turn. They play a copy of the Modern Age, gets rid of a Prismatic Strands. Street Wraith, let's cycle that. We hit the land. Beautiful. The Caw Gates deck does not have a ton of creature removal, so part of me is thinking about slamming the Stinger right now to force them to use the Prismatic Strands in a not optimal time. It might be a bad idea, but I think I'm down to try it. They only play like 3 copies of Journey to Nowhere as hard creature removal, if my memory serves me correctly. They discard an Outlaw Medic. Okay. Dark Ritual's a fine draw here. We'll swing. Post-combat, we'll cycle a Monstrous Carabid. Another Dark Ritual. Let's play out Lotus Petal. Pass the turn. They use a Heap Gate to create a clue. I'm sorry, not a clue, a treasure. So now the Modern Age will transform into a creature that is able to block our Drannith Stinger. And now they play a Squadron Hawk. Grabs 2 more copies of Squadron Hawk, plays a Gate. End step, we will cycle Horror of the Broken Lands. Reaping the Graves is a great draw. Cabal Ritual. Let's cycle Drannith Healer. They're at 15 now. Dark Ritual. My fear is Thraben Charm. I think I'm going to just pass. Because if I don't, I get blown out by a Thraben Charm. We have 6 creatures in the... I mean, if they tried to Thraben Charm on my end step, I could kill them in response. They Brainstorm. They played another land. But no copy of Squadron Hawk yet. They might play one post-combat, we'll see. They attack, I'll go to 16. End step, cycle the Drannith Healer. Horror of the Broken Lands is the draw. Songs of the Damned. Let's go to combat. They only have 1 power in play, so I think I'm free to attack here. They're going to Prismatic Strands. I think we just let this happen. Or maybe I should... I'll Dark Ritual. I mean, I'm going to have to discard anyway, so let's Dark Ritual here. Cycle Horror of the Broken Lands. Rowan's Grim Search. Okay, let's Dark Ritual. Am I allowed to Cabal Ritual? It would seem like the answer is yes. Let's try a Rowan's Grim Search. Sacrifice the Vault of Whispers. So my fear, and I mean, we could navigate through this depending on how the game shakes out. But if they have Counterspell plus Thraben Charm, that would be worst case scenario. And there's Counterspell. I'm going to try to get them to counterspell Songs of the Damned here to see if they'll use a Dispel. No, I'm just going to lose the Thraben Charm. Okay. Reaping the Graves. I've made my selections. They're paying cost for the Thraben Charm. Unfortunate. Yep. I'm going to concede and save time. Yeah. I knew it was a possibility, but it would require the opponent to counterspell the Rowans, and I didn't think that would happen. Maybe it was just too greedy on my part. Okay. We're doing the blue plan of bringing in Pyroblast and Vantasaur. Maybe I want Duress for the charms. It's not going to let me redo it, will it? Alright, so we'll get rid of the Vantasaur. Bring in a land. I'm actually going to board down 2 Lotus Petals, I think. On the play for game number 2. Sure. Seems fine enough. This hand would be a mulligan if the Swamp was a Lotus Petal, though, so that's nice to see. We'll play Swamp and pass. They play a Sea Gate. We'll cycle Monstrous Carabid. The draw is Songs of the Damned. We'll cycle another copy of Monstrous Carabid. Cycle the Street Wraith. Just thinking out loud, if I go Petal, I can go Petal, Duress, double Gravestalker, right? Or do I not have enough mana? Songs gives me 3, cycle. I'd have to burn the Cabal Ritual in order to play everything, but maybe that's worth it. I'm just going to play Double Stalker and keep the Cabal Ritual. Go. They play the Modern Age. Gets rid of Counterspell. Wow, that was an insane draw, because now I can go Dark Ritual, Duress, Cabal Ritual, Horror of the Broken Lands. So we'll play Dark Ritual, Duress you. Double Thraben Charm, nice. I don't even know what this is. Glorious Glee. Counters a creature spell. We'll take a Brainstorm, Cabal Ritual, Horror of the Broken Lands. Double Thraben Charm hand, huh? They discard their Glorious Gale. They play the Brainstorm. And they concede, so we stole game number 2 pretty quickly. I'm just going to resubmit. I think our configuration was fine. Game 3, we've opened up a pretty strong hand. I mean, I like this. They have a turn 1 gate, sure. I don't think there's anything I want to Pyroblast, so I'm just going to cycle a Horror of the Broken Lands on the end step. Yeah, sure. Like, I wouldn't Pyroblast a Modern Age anyway. Prismatic Strands is fine. Cycle the Horror of the Broken Lands. We draw another. We'll play the Great Furnace. Let's Duress. Take the Counterspell. Pass the turn. They play a gate. They discarded the other copy of the Modern Age. That's pretty interesting. End step will cycle the Monstrous Carabid, if it will let me. Dark Ritual's the draw. Vault of Whispers. So I could go Dark Ritual, Horror of the Broken Lands. I think I'm going to pass. I'd like to get a little bit more information on what the plan is by cycling the Barrymore on the end step, and then next turn I'll either play out the Gravestalker or the Horror of the Broken Lands. They play the other gate. End step will cycle, whoops, don't want to do that. Cycle Horror, or I'm sorry, cycle Barrymore. You drew the land. Stinky. We'll go to our turn. Lotus Petal. So the the Gravestalker costs 2 less at the moment. So I could go Petal, play out Gravestalker, not have to use any resources. Pass the turn. They play a Brainstorm. And now an Azorius Guild Gate. So they could start pumping up their creature if they want. But they don't. And I'll take 2 down to 18. Let's get in there. Swing. Dark Ritual. Horror of the Broken Lands. Pass. Journey to Nowhere. That one hurts. Okay. They exile the Horror of the Broken Lands. If they use the gate, I would kill the Vector Glider. They attack for 2, I'll go to 16. We'll swing. Cabal Ritual with no threshold. And then another copy of Horror of the Broken Lands. They counterspell, I will Pyroblast. Alright, so if they go land, they could use double gate. Well, now they can't with the Brainstorm. A white creature would allow them to flashback the Prismatic Strands. They play a Citadel Gate. And it looks like they're on race mode now. Well, they started to and then untapped. But they could give their creature +5 here. So that would put me down to 9, which would be lethal next turn. Okay, they're going to try to race. So do you have an answer for 1 mana? I mean, they need it because I have lethal right here. Cycle. Boom. Take that, the Raven Charm Enjoyers. We are now 3-1. The Gold Sabertooth times the Epic Storm Collection has arrived with 3 full-size tokens showcasing the beloved Dark Ritual, CDH Rogsai, and Legacy of the Epic Storm for just $5. On the backs of these tokens, there's a place for my signature or a custom message. In addition to these sweet tokens, a friendly reminder that all orders that ship from theepicstorm.com also come with a signed Storm token from yours truly. It's the final round and we did not win the die roll for once. Alright, this hand is a typical Cycle Storm hand we will keep. It looks like a rematch of the previous round. Dirty Thraben Charm Enjoyers. We have enough cyclers where I'm going to play out the Barrymore to start. They play a Citadel Gate, plus land drops are they're just like pretty crucial in the matchup. We'll play Vault of Whispers and pass. Azorius Guild Gate. And step cycle the Horror of the Broken Lands. Reaping the Graves was a great draw. Allows us to play through the Thraben Charm. Like, we don't have to fear cycling as much, because if they try to, like, end step Thraben Charm me, that's okay. I'm going to play out the Petal, which seems a little strange, because we do need it for Storm Count. But if for some reason they tap out, I could always end step Rowan's Grim Search into untap kill you. So I want to leave that possibility there. They play a Brainstorm, and now a Gate. They cycle Lorien Revealed, strongly representing Counterspell the first few turns. End step, I will cycle the Horror of the Broken Lands, and now the Drannith Healer. Cycle the Street Wraith. Why not? Let's cycle another. Cycle the Barrymore. And if they decide to Thraben Charm, I can go Songs of the Damned and then, try to win. I think we'll just pass here. They play an island. Squadron Hawk. You got it, friend. I am much better to win, or much better set up to win this game than I was game 1 last round, where I was sort of just clogged on mana, so I was pressured into losing to Thraben Charm. The way that this game is shaking out is I can just beat the Thraben Charm. Okay. I think on our turn, we're probably going to go for it. They discard a Journey to Nowhere. Dark Ritual. Let's cycle the Drannith Stinger. Cycle the Imposing Vantasaur. We'll tap the Great Furnace. Actually, I think I'd rather keep the Great Furnace open in case they're just holding open Prismatic Strands. Let's Songs of the Damned, see if this resolves. Double white, here comes the Thraben Charm. Alright, I will respond with a Songs of the Damned. If you have Dispel 2, you earned it. Alright, they did not. Now we'll... I guess my Storm's only 4. Maybe I shouldn't continue to cycle. Let's Rowan's Grim Search here. Bargain away the Vault of Whispers. We'll take Cabal Ritual Lotus Petal. Play the Cabal Ritual for Storm. Rowan's Grim Search. Bargain away the Great Furnace. We'll take Lotus Petal, Rowan's Grim Search. I will now play Rowan's Grim Search for mana. I'll use the red floating. And now we'll Reaping the Graves, return some friends. So we're going to have to leave 3 of our friends in the graveyard. So we want to make sure that we're returning the ones that matter most, so Street Wraith and Drannith Stingers. Okay, so the Reaping the Graves is resolving. Unfortunately, 3 of our friends are going to go to exile. And now, this Songs of the Damned is still on the stack. You're able to cycle in response to this and keep the train moving. We drew a Dark Ritual, which was probably our best draw here because it allows us to keep cycling more to fill up that graveyard. You're going to Brainstorm in response. Sure. You got it, friend. So they're tapped out. The only thing they could possibly have here is a foil in order to stop us. We hit another Street Wraith. Cycle that down to 4. I am 1 card short of Threshold. We'll cycle a healer. Actually, no. Let's cycle something else. I might want to play a healer so I can cycle more Street Wraiths later. And now we'll cycle another Monstrous Carabid. So even though our opponent exiled their graveyard, this song still ended up making 7 mana. And now we can play out a bunch of Lotus Petals, play out the Furnace, play out another Lotus Petal, cast that Cabal Ritual, Drannith Stinger, and another Drannith Stinger, and a 3rd Stinger. And then I do think I'm going to play out a healer here. It's not necessary, but I would like the option of Reaping the Graves into triple Street Wraith. So I'm giving myself that little bit of added flexibility here. Okay, they're at 17. We go up to 5. I will cycle Barrenmore. They'll drop down to 14. I'm up to 6. We'll play Songs of the Damned for 8. Pass the Rowan's Grim Search with Bargain, sacrificing the Great Furnace. We'll take Dark Ritual plus Cabal Ritual. Play the Dark Ritual. Cabal Ritual Storm 23. Songs of the Damned Storm 24. Reaping the Graves. Okay, so once I'm done clicking, we'll win game number 1. Resolving all of our copies of Reaping the Graves. And now we'll cycle. Praise be to Kuranos, God of Storms. Alright, they're at 8, so let's just, keep going. I guess it really didn't need the healer. I could have cycled it, I suppose, but it's nice to have that safety net sometimes. I would like to point out, not once this league did I think, man, I could have really have used a Blood Celebrant. I hate that card so much. I know it's in our sideboard, but I never want to use it. I am just not a fan of adding stops to our deck. Even if you look at games where we fizzled, it's like, how much worse would it have been to have a Blood Celebrant or a Repository Scob that we can't play into removal, or we don't have blue mana for, or whatever. Like, I think this clean list is just the most optimal. So I realized after last round that I did not follow the sideboard guide for the Coggates matchup, but we won, and I liked having the Swamp, so I'm going to break the rules again. I don't know if it's correct, but we're going to try it again. And who knows, maybe I update the sideboard guide with this plan in the long run. We will keep. This hand is quite good. Once again, our opponent leads on a gate. I also like having Barrymore in these matches, because sometimes these decks bring in things like Dust to Dust or Revoke Existence, and having Barrymore means your artifact lands do not get sent to exile. They play an Azorius Guildgate and a Sacred Cat. Sure. A 3rd Dark Ritual. Let's cycle Street Wraith. Reaping the Graves. Are we looking to have some fun here? I think we might be. Alright, let's cycle a healer. Even if we don't full combo and we just like end up with a couple Gravestalkers in play, I think that's fine. Cycle a Stinger. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Lotus Petal. And I think we'll do for a red. And now I can play the Gravestalker. Maybe red's not the right color. Because I don't think I'm going to have enough mana to play a Stinger in the end anyway. So now we'll Dark Ritual. Reaping the Graves everyone back. Street Wraith plus the others. Yeah, if we were going to have a bigger turn, I needed slightly better draws, but that's okay. Another Reaping the Graves isn't terrible. We'll cycle a healer, play the Baron more, pass the turn. Like, I think that was a fine exchange. They play a Seagate, Squadron Hawk, okay. Picks up 3 more copies of Squadron Hawk. Let's fire off Duress. Prismatic Strands, well, that's not one I want to put to your graveyard, so I'll take the counter spell. And then we'll cycle a Drannith Stinger. I think I'll play out the Baron more. And now we'll go to combat and attack. They take 5 down to 15. They play a land. Their draw step was Brainstorm. Incredible draw here. So that's going to allow them to put back double Squadron Hawk, play another, and then pull those 2 Squadron Hawks back out of the deck. Meaning that this Brainstorm was essentially Ancestral Recall and Pauper. By far their best draw here. Not even close. Another Squadron Hawk. Yeah. And now they attack. They probably should have attacked with the Sacred Cat. We'll swing. Alright, post-combat. Whoops. Cancel. Cycle the Street Wraith down to 13. Cycle Street Wraith down to 11. I think I'll play a Stinger here. And then let's cycle. If I hit a Songs, I would consider trying to mini-combo again. Alright, we'll pass. They play another copy of Seagate. It's their 4th gate, but still there's no Basilisk gate. And now they attack for 2. So they should have attacked with the Sacred Cat last turn. I think that was a mistake on their part. Vault of Whispers. And we'll attack. They block. Go to damage. I think we want to respond to this. So I will cast Cabal Ritual. So Cabal Ritual result, we have 5 black. There's a Prismatic Strand still on the stack. I've used 3 copies of Dark Ritual. We have 1 Cabal Ritual left in the deck. Then we have 4 Songs of the Damned. I could try to Rowan's Grim Search into more mana here, but we have 1 Cabal Ritual. I'm sorry, we have 1 Cabal Ritual, 1 Dark Ritual, 4 Songs. So we only have 6 hits. My concern right now is that we have 6 Cyclers in the graveyard, but my Storm, if I play Reaping the Graves, is only Storm 3, so I don't really love that. I'm going to try to Rowan's Grim Search in response. And I did hit the Songs. We'll take Songs and bin everything else. Cycle Horror of the Broken Lands. This will deal them 1. We'll play Songs of the Damned, Storm 4. And now Reaping the Graves. So there's some risk here with returning multiple Street Wraith, because I could be dead. But I think I want to return 2. Because cycling 2 puts me to 3 life, which isn't dead to Squadron Hawk. So I will start off by cycling the healer, 3rd Street Wraith. Well, I'm definitely glad I didn't return the other one now. Cycle Horror of the Broken Lands. Duress doesn't help. Cycle Stinger. They're at 5. The Carabid will put them to 4. We're pretty close to lethal. Cycle Street Wraith. This will put them down to 3. Did that do it? I think it did. Cycle the Monstrous Carabid. Okay, well, if that didn't, Horde of the Broken Lands definitely does. And now we'll cycle Street Wraith. Eating Thraben Charm Deck's breakfast. Or lunch, or whatever expression you want to use. That was a solid 4-1. I mean, I don't think I played this league particularly well. Leon Gross Stoltenberg, thank you for the donation deck. I'm willing to bet that right now, I would trust your abilities with this deck more than my own. I felt pretty rusty. The one match we lost, I really do think the deck sort of failed us. We had a situation where we could have put 3 creatures into play versus their 3 creatures. We did have a Pyroblast, but then they had the Monarch. So I don't think that's actually a favorable position. But then our draw 5 was terrible. And then in the second game, I had a really good hand. But then in the top 25% of our deck, there was 1 land. So just bad beats. It happens. You're not going to win them all. But even through Graveyard Hate, our deck was solid. We beat a Nile Spellbomb deck. We beat Double Thraben Charm, Burn, and then the Izzet Terror deck. So the only one we lost to was the one with only counterspells, which is funny. But I don't think that's like a real representation of the format or Cycle Storm's abilities. yeah, that's all I've got. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and as always, keep storming. Thanks for checking out today's video. I really do appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe, all that wonderful stuff in order to support us. Another way you could support us, picking up an Epic Storm mini token combo pack from the epicstorm.com/shop, and it would have made playing this video much easier if I had an efficient way of counting my storm and mana.